You know, what is it that, now don't forget Aboriginal people, we could laugh about this, but look at, we go K to 12, we send our kids to school. We think we're getting an education, they get a certificate. Then when they go to get a trade or something else, they get in there and they're told you don't have the skills. So I want you to repay for something you thought you got in K to 12. I want you to pay for it now in post-secondary SIRS or one of these other institutions that were pushing these people along, and they get there, they find out they don't have the skills to do the work. That's why they quit school, because they can't get in there. You go in the north, I could name the schools where Cameco and all these other companies are saying, here's the jobs that we have. I can show you right now that not one of those kids will get one of those jobs past entry level because they're taking general math. So we go around the communities with this paper and say, okay, here's the consequences. Somebody explain the consequences to these kids, school teachers included. Here's the 100 classifications you now can't apply for because you took the easy way out. You're doing basket weaving and you're taking general math. You can't do the trades. You can't do anything with healthcare after grade 12 because it has standards. You can't do anything in the professional communications field. So here's 100 classifications we now can't apply. So I guess now we're working in friendship centers and our NGOs. So why isn't this being explained? Because when we went to the kids, they wanted to know this. They wanted to know what's going on. Why is it that learning doesn't lead to earning? Why isn't there the rewards that we need for our kids in these communities? So that's what we are doing in these workplaces. So whether the government funds, don't forget, the strategy was developed that one of the funders was government. It doesn't mean the strategy is wrong or obsolete, because you can't replace common sense with some other program. No department is going to get ready the Aboriginal community. No department is going to tackle another department and get ready the educational issues. No department is going to sit down with the unions and figure out how to build an Aboriginal voice inside the labor movement. Nobody. Because when we went there, we got accused of different things. That this is a primitive action, we're trying to jump the queue, that we don't have the qualifications, which was none of it was true. But we said, look, all we need is to have a dialogue where we start talking to each other, and pretty soon I know we'll find, instead of staying apart on things we disagree, I know we're going to get together on areas we can agree on. And it was organized labor that helped us to explain to 40,000 citizens in Saskatchewan, here's the benefits that Aboriginal people have had in this, have been involved in this province. Here's the benefits to treaties to First Nation. Here's the benefits to treaties to non-Aboriginal. Here's the issues that Métis people have taken in this province. Here's the aspirations of that community, where we all want to be the same. We all want to have equal access to jobs and feed our families. And I'd like to be able to brag that we're 8% unemployed. But for the professionals to come along and say, what does it mean to have represented workforce? What are your numbers? You know, let's look at the numbers of the programs that are in existence right now. Show me a successful workplace with the existing programs that have been bragged about across this country. Show me one barrier that's been removed. Because we not only had in this represented workforce the issue of trying to figure out how to employ, we had to tackle the racism in our communities, the racism in the workplace, the barriers with no dispute mechanism, the education that wasn't getting the kids properly ready to compete, the training funds that aren't there, where Aboriginal people still lobby today to meet criteria instead of need, where MLAs and MPs, you remember I brought up the argument that they said the status quo will prevail? So my argument to the MPs and MLAs is you're supposed to be representing us. So what happened? Why are you letting the disparity widen? What are we doing about it? What initiatives are we going to take to turn this around where the statistics stay stagnant, or we hand complacent statistics to each other and pretend we're doing a good job? Okay, what are we going to do differently? That, like, I heard presentations, well, in this initiative, sure, we haven't done well in in-scope positions. Oh, sure, we haven't done well in out-of-scope positions, but we hope to do better next year. Well, what are you doing differently that will get you different results? Okay, because out of scope, you don't need a quota. Out of scope is already creative hiring. And I'll give you an argument. I know people will laugh at this. Make me the head of one of these programs. Make Ebert, other people that I know got skills in this room, and I'll hire the best and brightest Aboriginal Canadians in the country tomorrow. And you know it, but we're never given the chance. That's why we want entry, middle, senior management, somehow to get Aboriginal people to be the gatekeepers and start doing the hiring, because they're not hung up on stereotypes or people that look different or people that have different sparks. Because after you know me for a while, you probably wouldn't hire me, okay? Because we don't look alike, okay? But I know this. Since 1946, when my father was working for Tommy Douglas in meetings for the Métis Association in Moosomin, Saskatchewan. We were lobbying for employment and training and education and economic development. And here we are in 2010, we haven't figured out one strategy yet. We don't even know who's responsible for the Métis in this province. We know who's responsible for rats, but we can't figure out who's responsible for Métis. Like, how is this possible? Name me one initiative we've taken off the table. Oh, we fixed that now. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so that's what we were doing in this program, is it was funding the strategy that was developed by Aboriginal people. Not overnight, over time. We started with the heading, AEDP. And then we went and we talked to people. Well, should we have a partnership? And we got help from our own people. You should be prescriptive. You should write down what they're supposed to do. I said, then we're like government. We're top heavy. Why don't we agree in principle, employment? Don't give us this selective access no more. And every day, I was at a meeting last week. Some guy come running along. I was at one of your meetings too in Saskatchewan with the tribal council. We need 3 engineers, as if I could get them Friday. You know, or bring us your tradespeople and we'll hire them. I just finished saying the problem we're having in education. I just finished saying we can't get them overnight. Okay? We can't just think of trades and then forget about all the other jobs. It's like police departments. They won't let me into those facilities unless with handcuffs. We go to these facilities and I say to them this. The head of the RCMP and a number of chiefs of police we just met, Doreen and others, were at the meeting. It was even held at the university. I come there and they said this, Wayne, you got any grants to hire you natives? Natives, that monolithic term. I said, you get grants to hire white people? It's like you're already hired, you're already being paid as the RCMP of Canada, that you're representative, and you can't do it. And now we want you to pay you again. What would you do different the second time that you didn't do the first time? Why is it that in police departments we can only be police officers arresting our own people? There's jobs in HR, there's jobs in admin, there's jobs in finance, there's jobs in security, there's jobs as janitors. Maybe that's all I want to be as a janitor. Why is our own workplaces, which we pay for with our taxes, why are the doors closed to us except for selective? Why can't we be the janitors? Why can't I be the head of the exchequer at the university here? Why can't we be the ombudsman? Why can't we be the rentalsman? Tell me why that's possible. Oh, well, you know, you natives should run in the elections. And then when we get there, we start dealing with no-fault insurance because we're afraid to represent our people. Okay, instead of bringing an Aboriginal agenda to make it inclusive about what needs to be done, we have a right, we won't even argue constitutional rights, rights as Canadians to equal access to jobs, rights to a decent training, rights to a decent education. Now, if we got an argument, which we pointed out, and we said there is an argument, why is it that we have no dispute mechanism and nobody will do anything? In my opinion, the MPs and MLAs are representing the white people. The Aboriginal people are being represented by non-profit leaders with no power and no money. We have no money. Nothing's been divulged to us. That's what we asked the Prime Minister and the Premiers. Not jurisdictions, but responsibilities from jurisdictions, like we'll use education. Let us start writing our own history, not you. Let us write it. And we'll just take that one responsibility. And then over time, we'll take another responsibility. And pretty soon, we'll properly educate our kids just like everybody else is. And if we don't, there'll be penalties. What's the penalties if you don't hire a representative tomorrow? There's none. What's the penalties under employment equity if we don't hire the quotas that we said we'll hire? Which nobody can do. Because if we don't get them ready, you can have all the numbers you want. It's up to Aboriginal people to figure out how we get them ready. And you know, one of the things, and I wish somebody would have been here from Prince Albert today, but when we started at the Prince Albert Healthcare, we had 8 Aboriginal people out of 1,650. Today, I believe there's still over 500 staff there. They're more than 19% of the workforce. And I think there's about 2,500 people there. But you know, they didn't depend on an ARDA grant. They didn't depend on this or that. What they did was the parents helped them with student loans and other kinds of financing to make sure that those kids got an education because they knew there was vacancies. And the argument I use is a while back we got a letter from, it was either Joyce Reset or it was from SEHO, but there was 77 graduates as LPNs, licensed practical nurse. Takes 18 months. Part of the crew came from Isle of Cross, the Losh, that area.